Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies. As always, I'm joined here with Huskies head coach Eric Tilson. Coach, how you doing this evening?
I'm all right.
Fresh off the Labor Day break, how'd you enjoy the break?
That was good. Good to spend time with family.
You got 3 days off from school, correct? Did you get Thursday off too, or is it just Friday and Monday?
Thursday, teachers had to come Thursday. Kids were off.
Kids were off Thursday, but you had to come in, unfortunately. So we'll jump right into talking about a little bit of football also. You had your first home game this past Friday night against Jellico. Ended up being on the losing end of that one, 14-7. Take us through that whole entire game. I know there's a few plays that you wish you would have had back. There was actually one controversial call at the end of the game too. So take us through the entire game and take us through your emotions in that ride.
Well, starting off, we knew they had a couple players offensively need to handle, and our defense went up to the challenge, contained their offense pretty well. Second week in a row that our defense has pitched a shutout. They didn't give up an offense touchdown. There was only one offense touchdown in the entire game. That was the one that we scored. So our defense played really well there. Offensively, just couldn't get into a groove. A lot of those big plays in the first drive that we had were actually busted plays. They weren't what was supposed to happen. They were just kids making plays. So we couldn't ever get into a groove offensively early on. But defensively made some big plays. Had a big fourth down stop. Our safety linebacker came through on a pass, and Jake Duffy was all the way in the backfield and got a half a sack with Braden Weems, and that launched us into a scoring drive, and we just methodically went down the field and scored. So we kind of carried that into the locker room there defensively, because they were threatening in the red zone, and we made a check. We actually showed blitz, all-out blitz, and we told them to back off. Like, hey, act like we're blitzing, and then back off at the last second. And it was just enough to confuse the offensive line. They led a defensive lineman three, and we only rushed three. So they let Ethan White free, and he got some pressure, and it forced him to throw the ball, and Dash went up and got the pick, which allowed us just to get it to halftime, which is kind of what we want there. So coming in with a 7-0 lead, expecting things to start clicking on offense. We go back out and stop them defensively. Then offensively, we come back out, and that's when things started to fall apart. And it was quite literally 2 plays. Because what we said, 8 seconds of football determined the entire game, and we had a miscue. Yeshua had to come out. We had a couple backs come in, and we had a miscue with the quarterback running back mesh, and fumbled the ball there, and their kid made a smart move. He hit Christian so he couldn't get back up, and then allowed his teammate to go scoop and score. So we get the ball back. We're like, okay, Yeshua's still out. So let's get to our other big guy, Colton Robbins, and we had a miscue of who's supposed to block number 2, and the guy we were supposed to block steps right in front of the screen, and of course on screens there's nobody behind to make the tackle, so it was a easy pick 6 there, and all of a sudden within 2 plays we're down 14-7. And to our defense credit, we come back out and we continue to stifle them. And given our offense opportunities, we just couldn't capitalize offensively. So what we were telling the kids, it's a lot about, hey, just the minor details that we're supposed to focus on, and that's the hardest part of football, is those details. And just couldn't get that in line. It's like one step here, too late here, too early here. So it's back to drawing board offensively there, and then towards the end of the game. We have the drive of the game. We need to get a big stop there, and first time they kind of been letting the forward progress go a little bit. So we told our guys, it's like, hey, rip the ball out. Like, we don't need a tackle right now. We need the ball. So who cares if they get a first down? We need the ball. So our guys do a good job. They stand them up, and Eli Johnson pulls the ball out. There wasn't a whistle blown, so we thought we had it. They said forward progress to stop. We're like, okay, guys, we can't control what the officials do. So next play, it's 4th down. We need to stop. we had forward progress stop. Backs came in and pushed the quarterback, which is illegal now. There was a rule change there, which, I mean, we have it on video. They aided the runner, so it was an illegal play there. So, but as we tell our kids, that it is never let the game up to the officials. Never put yourself in an opportunity where the officials could determine the outcome, because they could make a great call, they could not make a great call, but never put yourself in a position where they have to make a call. Make it so clear that the play is just obvious.
And it's one of those games, too. It really hurts to think about in hindsight, because 2 plays unfortunately change the whole entire game that kind of make it tougher to your road to the playoffs also. Yes. Because you always want to start out 1-0 in the conference. If you start 0-1, it's tougher to climb back into that playoff spot. And it's even tougher to then climb into the number 1 spot to win the conference, because now you've got to get help, and now you've got to pretty much run the table and win from here on out. So,
which is a possibility.
It is. It's completely a possibility.
It's a complete possibility. I mean, we defensively played well. Offensively, we're so close to opening this thing up. That's what we got to realize. So.
And without those 2 plays too, do you feel like you lost to a team that you were better than? And without those 2 plays, you ended up coming out?
No doubt. I thought we were a better team. They had some really good players, don't get me wrong, but I thought we were overall a better team.
I want to talk about the defense a little bit more also, because you mentioned how the last 2 weeks you've not allowed a single offensive touchdown. Even going back to week 1 against West Greene, I believe one of their touchdowns was a defensive touchdown also. Through 3 games, I think you've only allowed 3 offensive touchdowns. Is that correct?
And one of those was on a short field. We gave the ball up, and they were already in the red zone when they started their drive. So, I mean, our defense played well the entire year. So, commend those guys. They're doing a great job.
And then Dash, we mentioned him last week. He comes up with, I think, 2 big pass breakups, and he gets his interception this week too. So it's good to see his hard work finally start to pay off a little bit too.
Yes.
And Yeshua, I think he was the one that got your offensive touchdown going. Mm-hmm. He kind of got banged up a little bit in that game too. Was it more of like a hamstring issue? Cramp. Yeah. Cramps are always the worst, unfortunately. But he was.
When you're playing hard he's in about every single snap. So. He plays hard too. So
that's what I was about to say. He plays both sides of the ball, so he really doesn't get time.
Not just plays both sides of the ball, because a lot of kids play both sides, but he plays hard in those plays. So it's not an effort issue there.
Does he play special teams?
A little bit.
A little bit. So there are some games he probably does not get a play off for like a whole quarter.
No doubt.
But he is the workhorse on your offense. It was good to see his hard work finally pay off with a touchdown also. Who were some other players that you were really proud of in that game on Friday night too?
Our front, Colton Robbins had a heck of a game up front. Defensively, our defensive line did a great job getting penetration, and Colton was in about on every single play. Another one who showed up, and he's been having more of a role on offense, so we've kind of taken him off of the defensive side. But he came in some critical situations on defense. Christian Cogdell had a big fumble recovery, made a couple really big plays in the backfield. So he's doing a great job in his role that we've asked him. So because we're needing more production on offense, and he's allowing us to be able to do that. So. He's taking a step back for the team, and he goes in key situations defensively, but he really flashed. And then our corners did a great job defending their little pop passes that they had, and they only completed a few passes. So minus their screen game, which is really an extension of the run game. That's I know they threw for, I won't say 150 or something like that, but it was all screens. Didn't really have a deep threat there. So defense good. Overall as a team, it was really hard to stat this game because you couldn't see who made the tackle because everything's inside the box, covered up by offensive linemen. And you got about 11 green jerseys around the ball at all times.
But credit to your defense also. They're playing amazing this year. It's great to see the turnaround they've had from last year too into this year in such a short amount of time. I enjoy seeing that the most. But you got Cumberland Gap this week. That's another game where it's probably going to be hard to stat with how they play inside of the box. Also, we'll preview that in just a second, though. We've got to get some commercials on screen first. So we'll be right back in just a minute here on Grassroots Media.
Pizza, pancakes, or donuts. The Davy Crockett Travel Center in Baileyton has the cure for all your cravings. While you're there, shop our general store for souvenirs, gifts, and cellular accessories. In a hurry, grab a cold drink and a hot dog to go. Check us out on Facebook and come to Baileyton.
At Corner Pond, the friendly and knowledgeable staff has the experience necessary to help you out regardless the need. Have an item of value you'd like to pawn or sell? Corner Pond can help. They pawn numerous items of value, including firearms, tools, ammunition, silver, coins, and much more. When you walk through their doors, you'll find well-stocked shelves full of electronics, gaming systems, fishing and hunting equipment, car audio and accessories. And don't forget about the room full of guitars and basses and amplifiers, or their outside lawn and garden equipment. Corner Pond is a case knife dealer and carries numerous used knives as well. Stop by and let the friendly staff at Corner Pond help you today at 432 East Bernard Avenue, Greenville, Tennessee.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Husky football team. As always, I'm joined here with North Greene head coach Eric Tilson. So we mentioned it right before the break. You've got the Cumberland Gap Panthers coming in this week. You get back-to-back games at home. It's a team that, just like Jellico, they'll probably run mostly everything within the box.
Yes.
Probably not going to see a whole lot of passes unless they get down and get behind by a couple of possessions. So take us through your preparation this week. Take us through what you expect in that game on Friday night.
A lot of inside run.
Correct.
We got inside run period, and it's a lot of misdirection stuff. They're an old school power tee. They put their hands out at the backs in a straight line. They go hand to hand, then they get the 3-point stance in the backfield, and all three of them will go different directions. About every there are sometimes I'm watching the film and I cannot tell who has the ball. So it's one of those real disciplined games that everybody has to maintain gap integrity, do what they're supposed to do. We do that, then we can have another successful night defensively. They're very similar to Jellico in the fact that they're real big and physical up front, and it's a team I think we're better than, but we have to go out and execute, and it's a team that if we don't go execute, they can beat us. And they're talented enough, and they do a good job, and their scheme is really tough to handle defensively. So we have to come ready to prepare and go execute. So our guys have to do a really good job with that. So if we come out and we just go execute what we're supposed to, big thing we've been talking about with our guys, especially offensively, is nobody has to win the game. Everybody just has to do their job. If we do that, we'll go down and score. So I think we got to a point where our guys want to win so bad that they think they have to put the whole team on their shoulders. Yeah. And they don't. We've got enough talented players on the field that we just have to go out and just go play. And we do that, then we can be successful offensively. I think we got a little more team speed overall, but they are physical inside the box. And when they start getting a roll on offense, they are running the ball between the tackles. So we got to be ready to play football in the phone booth and be ready for close quarters combat.
Correct.
So that out of most games on our schedule, this is very similar, like what you'll see with Cloudland. They got a little more misdirection stuff with what they do, and it's kind of funny. Their head coach, I'd recruited his son when I was at Emory Henry. He's an old Emory Henry alum, so he's up in Virginia. So I've seen what he's done for past decade now, and now he's in Tennessee and got to coach against them. So kind of funny how worlds turn.
Full circle moment for you. I will say, too, as somebody who's experienced Cumberland Gap on the sideline this year, it's a very confusing offense. It's one of those where I will have my phone out trying to record the play, and a lot of times I just keep a wide zoom on the box, and if they make it out of the line of scrimmage, then you find where they go.
Well, sometimes they make it out of the line of scrimmage, but the ball's on the other side of the field.
Exactly. Sometimes you don't know where it's going to go.
And there's times the camera on film is following. Got those NFHS.
The decoy.
Yeah, you got one of those NFHS cameras that follows motion. All of a sudden, it's looking over here, but the ball's 10 yards down the other direction. So it's a big one that everybody has to trust their job and just do their job. And They can't be worried about their stats, can't be worried about how many tackles they have or where the ball. You just got to play your guy. If you're the quarterback guy, you're the quarterback guy. If you play the dive, you play the dive. If you're the counter guy, you play the counter, and you let everybody else do their job. And that's one of those type of defenses, and which is, it sounds real simple, but simple's hard.
Yes, that's exactly what I wrote last week too. It's a simple concept, but not so simple to scout against.
Yeah, it's simple to play because you just do your job, but that's the hard part about football is the simple stuff is what's really hard. When you're playing against a real complex offense like that does a lot pass game wise, you can recognize it pretty quick and know what's happening. But like when it looks the same every play, and you still don't know where the ball is, that's when things get hard.
Yeah.
It's because it looks the same every single time. And our backs do a really good job with their run fakes. Like they cover the ball up, they cover their hands down, and you cannot see who has the ball.
It's an interesting offense. Is it tough? I guess what I'm trying to ask, is it a tough offense to kind of scout and prepare your team for where you have so much misdirection?
Scouting wise is not terribly tough because when you go to input the data, I mean you see by the end of the play. What's tough is the preparation part. Is like we'll go out practice without football this week, so there's no question about like everybody doing their job, and then we won't put a football out there till late when we do our competition periods. So that's a lot of it. You got to treat this like it's an option offense. It's not a true option offense, but you have to treat it almost like it is an option offense.
It is a fun offense to watch. I will give them credit on that. Watching behind is so weird too because you can see where it's going, but you really see the ball fakes a lot better whenever you're behind their line of scrimmage too. And I know we've talked about in the past few weeks how your offense is so much different to where defenses will line up to cater you guys. But what have you seen on film from their defense so far?
They're similar to Jellico structure-wise. They'll base out of a 3-4, and they'll walk a guy down. Like last week, we had guys screaming off the edge, which is what we expected. But when we made our adjustments, we'd have a bad snap here, we'd have a miscue on a handoff, stuff like that happen. So it's like the plays that they made defensively had nothing to do with our opponents. They were all about just us doing just small details of our job, snaps, handoffs, the stuff we do every day before practice. So that's that was the frustrating part of last week, and that's what going in this week that we just have to do, just handle our business because they're going to roll safety down, they're going to walk down, they're going to condense their front down to our tight end. We know exactly, and we have the adjustments, and we have the plays off of those. I mean, that's the joys of having a system is they line up a certain way, we know exactly what to adjust, and that's our next call. And but it's hard to get the next call when the snap's not there, or we can't get a handoff down, or we're too early or too late on our timing. So it's just stuff we have to handle ourselves.
This is a little bit of a different question too. This might not even turn into an answer, but have you watched their film against South Greene?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think with you playing South Greene in the Jamboree, have you found anything in that game that you think might be successful for you guys to run?
Yes, but I'm not saying it on air.
Of course, yes, of course.
But yeah, because we're able to kind of sometimes when we haven't played Cumberland Gap since I've been here, so sometimes when you're comparing teams, it's hard to see. All right, how do they compare to us physically? Well, we've gone up against South Greene and Jamboree this year, so we kind of know what they look like physically, what we look like against them. So we're able to kind of get a good judgment from there, and then it's nice when teams play familiar opponents. So that's the fortunate part there.
And as always, end of every interview, you got 3 keys to success that you need to carry out in order to win the game.
This week we'll have to be great tackling. So even if they don't have the ball, if you're supposed to tackle your dive player, you tackle them. If you're supposed to tackle the quarterback, tackle them. Even if you don't know if they have the ball or not, just tackle your dudes. And then great effort, and then playmakers going to have to make plays. So back to the old keys
of the game.
Keys of the game there.
Great effort, great tackling.
Offensively, we got to focus on details this week.
So maybe 4 keys of the game this week. We got to get 4 in there for a week. I think that's all I've got to. Going to be a very disciplined game. 7:30 this week on the Tundra Friday night. You didn't play on Thursday night last week, so you get the regular week off that you're supposed to. Yes,
we got a regular.
But Friday at 7:30 here at the Tundra. If you're a North Greene fan, North Greene supporter, come down and enjoy that game. And I think that's all I've got for this week, Coach.
Appreciate you coming down.
Absolutely. Appreciate you sitting down. And thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Eric Tilson Show. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.